What up, you guys? So, I want to talk about like there's certain mindsets that exist that if you possess them, not only do you not benefit from being a certain way, other people around you don't benefit as well. For example, scam artists. My mom has once been scammed out of like $3,000 a consolidation program or something like that, right? And then these people, like when they got my mom for $3,000, what's up, John? They can't even create a reputation. Like it's impossible to be a successful scam artist for too long because you're always in hiding. You're always in, like you'll scam somebody and then you'll move on to the next victim, but you can never build a reputation doing that because people will expose you and then and then not bad rumors. The truth gets spread about you and then you get shut down. You know what I mean? And instead of learning how to effectively bring value to the marketplace by creating a service or product that actually benefits people because they use it. For example, Steve Jobs, he sold 1 billion units of the iPhone. Like, you know what I mean? At least, it's probably a lot more than that. I have no idea what the number is now. But from the first iPhone to which one are we at now? The 10th one or the 11th one's coming out soon. But nonetheless, like 1 billion units have been sold. Say what you want about iPhone. I know some of you are Android users and you're like, oh man, F iPhones. I get it. Like, but there's a lot of people that they're so satisfied with their product. You know what I mean? They wanted an iPhone. You know what I mean? He didn't scam people out of their money. You know, he provided something that people wanted to be using. So yeah. So for scam artists, when all they care about is making money at the expense of other people, like I remember one time I was watching a Jordan Belfort video and he said that there was once a man who said he was trying to sell him something that was a high ticket item. It was a couple $1,000. He was like, yo, I want to make this purchase, but I've been spending money irresponsibly lately and my wife might just leave me. And he's like, bro, your wife's going to leave you if you don't buy my service. You know what I mean? Like that person he was talking to was not a qualified prospect for his business opportunity, but he didn't care to find qualified people. He said, anybody with a pulse who's breathing and speaks the same language as me, how can I extract money out of that person? And when that becomes your mentality, like you're going to annoy more people than you help. You know what I mean? And so yeah, like he actually sold something to that dude and he didn't care about his potential divorce. He didn't care about his wife leaving him. You know what I'm saying? If I ever had a product or service that is too much of a high ticket offer and someone tells me, yo, like I might actually lose my marriage if I want this product as much as I want the product, I'm going to tell him, bro, don't buy the damn product. Like, go attend to your marriage or your failing marriage or whatever's going wrong that's dysfunctional in your relationship. You know what I mean? Like, so because my intention is to be as polite, as kind, as considerate as I can, I'm living my life in a way it's selfish because this is what I want. You know what I'm saying? I know it's the way to get maximum value out of other people or to get what I want out of other people, I have to give them what they want. You know what I mean? There's a quote that I know a lot of you successful marketers or even unsuccessful marketers, those of you that are interested in marketing, you've heard this quote before where it says you give enough people what they want, eventually you'll get what you want. And that's so true. You know what I mean? So getting back to Steve Jobs selling 1 billion units of the iPhone, I know he passed away now, but before he died, he made a fortune off of giving a lot of people what they want. And then he got what he wanted, which was a lot of money, but he provided a lot of value. You know what I mean? So I know a lot of people think rich people are like lucky or, you know what I mean? Like having a lot of money means is always equivalent to the amount of value that you brought to the marketplace. You know what I mean? So anybody you see with a lot of money, they bring in a lot of value. Now I understand that certain things you're like, how is that value? There's slime videos. There's what you call it, slime channels dedicated to slime, and you're like, I don't understand how that brings anybody value. But the thing is, to the people that consume these videos, like they're getting paid off of their time watched. You know what I'm saying? They have advertisements on it. They probably sell slime. Like there's channels dedicated to this on YouTube. So the perceived value has gone up. There was a time when nobody cared about slime, but there was also a time when nobody cared about fidget spinners. Like I don't give a damn about fidget spinners, but I know somebody does. You know what I mean? And the thing is, in life we'll get crushed when we don't know how to be empathetic towards, I don't like it, but I understand how somebody else could. For example, the elderly. the elderly, they hate curse words. I understand that. You know, I'm empathetic towards that. I recognize that I need to learn how to stop cursing. It's not about me being alive to please other people, because I know somebody will be like, yo, well, I'll be damned if I stop cursing if I don't feel like it. Because if you're offended, whatever, just tune out of my podcast. You don't have to listen. But I'm not alive to serve you anyway, so I don't care if you're bothered by it. Here's why I care that old people are bothered by my cursing, because if I don't learn how to adapt, people are gonna like unfollow me, unsubscribe. And not that I care about the followers per se, but I believe in my message so much that I want to reach as many people as possible. And if I'm doing something that prevents that message from being reached, then I'm wondering how much do I have to do with that? You know what I'm saying? How much can I adapt or adjust to make it so that more reach is possible? Because I know a lot of people, they'd be like, well, if you don't like the message, then F it, it's not for you, like, you know, whatever. But I'm not changing my approach. And then we refuse to change our approach, and that becomes the reason that we're not able to approach too many people, because we don't care about adaptation, because we don't care about the other person. We just care about maintaining whatever your current personality is. You know what I'm saying? And even though your current personality might be destructive, you might have lost a lot of friendships, you might have been divorced 4 times, and yet you think that every divorce, the other person has something to do with it and not you. You know what I mean? It's always the other person. Like, don't you guys think you're bleeding into delusion if you've met 100 people and they all think that you're a controlling person, but yet you think that they have a skewed vision, skewed vision of you? You know what I mean? Like, if you met 100 people that are saying the same exact thing about you, at what point are they speaking truth? Does everybody have a twisted perspective of you? You know what I mean? This is why I value, man, I love it when people tell me whatever it is they think that I'm super messed up about me, because now it's an opportunity to change that thing and then become a better person. But it's because of the things that I value. Like, I value whatever's going to make me a better person. I value that type of content. I value those type of quotes, those type of videos, those type of lectures, those type of people. Like, anybody who I believe being around those people will make me better, I like that, you know what I mean? And I know that they'll challenge me with things. They'll tell me, because I might have a blind spot. As much self-awareness as I think I have, there might be certain areas in my life that I don't know that I'm not doing good, and it might take for someone else to point it out. Here's the thing, right? We live in a world where there's no accountability, and we get mad when people point out stuff. I understand why, because to a certain extent, like religious people, I know you think they wake up their whole intent for waking up in the morning is to correct somebody else's behavior, and it makes people not receptive towards what they have to say, because it seems like they're too delighted by doing that, by pointing out what's wrong with you. And you're like, man, these damn religious people, they need to focus on their own life. Like, I get that. And then that becomes the reason that you don't ever listen to any of them. But there's always a chance they might be saying something it's actually practical. It's actually useful information that can help you develop into the person that you actually want to be, if you spent less time getting offended by what you think shouldn't be said, instead of instead become a person who is just train their mind to extract value from every conversation, from every situation, from every, you know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, man, the ability to adapt is like very important, you know? And I'll give you some examples, right? Text message. I don't know which one I hate more, the devil or text messaging. They're like on the same plane. Sometimes I think I hate text messaging more than the devil. Seriously, like, I hate it that much. Like, you know, my reasons for hating it is because, like, people don't read to understand. They read long enough to have an opinion about what they think you're saying, and then respond to not even what you're actually saying, but their perception of what they think is being said, completely misunderstand everything, misrepresent your message completely, and go back and forth arguing. And it's just time waster, you know what I'm saying? For me, I'd just rather get on the phone, you know what I'm saying? Because, like, but I'm empathetic towards people that love texting, and they love, like, that's what they love doing, you know what I mean? So empathy has become my saving grace, because I'm not going to meet a bunch of people that love texting and tell them how they shouldn't be doing that. Like, that's your business. If you want to text, that's cool. Like, if you love texting, kudos to you. You know what I'm saying? But from my experience with using it, it just seems like people just always misunderstanding everything, you know? And just being on the phone, I'll be able to clarify what I'm actually trying to say. Now, I know we live in a world where everybody's too Hollywood to get on the phone, but that's fine. Like, they have the right to be Hollywood. They have the right to, you know, I was actually watching a video I want to tell you guys about. I was watching a video. Gary Vaynerchuk was talking. He was talking to the crowd. It was at least 1,000 people in the crowd. He says, how many of you actually get pissed off when another human being calls your cell phone? Like, he says, actually, I want you to stand up. And at least 50 to 60%, probably more, of the crowd stood up saying, hey, yeah, it actually pisses me off when people just call me out of nowhere. And he says, I need you to guys to understand the reason that is because they consider that an invasion of their time. Like it's like, dude, what the hell are you doing just calling me? Send me a text message so that I know a phone call is coming and then call me. And you know what my mindset used to be? I'm like, yo, that's stupid. What the hell? Why do I have to like why do I have to text you to like call you? You know what I'm saying? Like, do you have other rules that are stupid too? To the point where if I want to call you, I have to physically write you a letter and send it to you. You know what I mean? Put it in the post office. And then once you receive my letter and you send me a letter back, then I could call you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Do you have other rules that I would consider retarded like that? Like, but then I realized, yo, me criticizing what makes sense to somebody else, it doesn't change them because they're going to continue to think it makes sense to them. And that's just their philosophy. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to agree with it and I don't have to live according to their rules. But if I'm empathetic, at least I won't be consumed by their behavior or what I consider stupid because I just fully accept that they're not alive to please me anyways. They're not alive to do things the way that I think they should. You know what I'm saying? Like their purpose in life extends way beyond my opinion of what I think should be. You know what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with my opinion of what I think should be because I am that way, you know, and it was selfish for me to like, you know, care about my mental health, care about like things. Cause yo, I used to be a basket case. Yo, if you go 4 years back on my timeline and look at what I used to post about, it's nothing to the level of what I'm at now. You know what I'm saying? Like I used to post stupid stuff that was just a complete waste of your time reading. You know what I mean? So yeah, empathy just helps me a lot. And, it helps the people around me a lot, you know, because even though I hate Minecraft, I'm not going to put pressure on people that play that game to tell them they should play other stuff, you know, even though I hate, what else do I hate? Whatever it is that I hate, like I'm not going to meet people that enjoy those things and tell them, yo, well, it should be this way. Like, who the hell am I? Like, I believe a lot of things are not my place to say. I don't mind having conversations and exchanging my viewpoints and opinions, but because I believe that I'm not your mommy and daddy, I really believe that. You know what I'm saying? There's people that walk around thinking they're somebody's parent, yo, always trying to correct somebody. And you don't know how you're being perceived because of that. And people don't always tell you how they feel. You know what I mean? Like, I've realized here's one thing I learned. When people come to you with their problems, they're actually not looking for a solution. Usually they're just venting and complaining and they want somebody to be empathetic towards their complaints. Now, I know a lot of people struggle with that because they're like, for those of you that are nothing but problem solvers, you're nothing besides a walking solution. You don't know how to be empathetic towards people that just want to whine all day. You know what I'm saying? And you might be wondering, why the hell do people complain all day? I don't know, man. They're doing what they prefer to be doing and they're gravitating towards what's easier because I know whatever's easier to do, that becomes the behavior that people engage in. You know why people are not solving their own problems? Because it's easier to whine. It's easier to complain about how many people don't love you. It's easy to complain about how many people don't have gratitude towards you instead of trying to do some research and find out, I have an expectation issue. How can I get rid of these so that I could be a better human being? Because although I do believe people should have more gratitude, every time they don't have gratitude towards me, I'm at an inconvenience. And the only reason I'm correcting their behavior is because it bothers me that they're that way. And I'm not correcting them because I love them. It's not because I give a damn about these people. I just want them to be what I think they need to be in order for me to not be a mental basket case. You know what I'm saying? So, like, when you live that way, you become an emotional liability to everybody around you because now everything that's not to your liking, you're now in a position to criticize and have problems with people that have a different philosophy than you. And now it's all about being at war with other people. You know what I'm saying? This is why I like that the Bible says the war is not against flesh and blood. You know what I mean? It's against spirits and principalities, which means that the people you're at war with, it's not the people. You know what I'm saying? It's not the people that are retarded. It's the belief system. You know what I mean? And in a lot of cases, people don't have ideas. Ideas have people. When I say ideas have people, that means they're brainwashed by their ideas. Their ideas are so embedded into them that they think that that's who they are, even if it's nowhere near close to what they were meant to be, or what they were like, you know what I'm saying? Like the person it was supposed to become, or the person that God had envisioned them becoming if only they cared about their purpose. You know what I'm saying? So because I know indoctrination runs deep, and because I know it's not personal, I'm never going to make it personal when somebody's like doing something that quote unquote they shouldn't be doing. For example, I'll give you some examples. There was one time I got on PlayStation and some girl, she randomly, she cursed me out for no reason. I didn't do nothing to this girl to be cursed out, but she cursed me out nonetheless. I'm so glad I didn't take her behavior personal. I wanted to rip her head off, but I didn't. You know what I'm saying? Because I've learned from listening to Tony Robbins that when somebody responds to you, it's either a desperate cry for help, or it's a loving response. You know what I mean? If you run into a hole, oh, give me a second. I'm just reading your comment, John. My bad. If you run into a hole in the morning, you ran into a hole. If it happens all day, you're you are the hole. I've never heard that one, John. I gotta write that down. That's funny. I've never heard that in my life. That's very interesting. Yo, John says if you run into a hole in the morning, you ran into a hole. Wait, you ran into an a hole, I think you're trying to say. If it happens all day, you are the a hole. Okay, okay, I see what you're trying to say. So if everyone else is the asshole, it's really you and not other people. I get that. I see what you're trying to say. Yo, where was I? I lost my train of thought. My bad. That's a funny comment though, John. Appreciate you, putting that. Made me laugh. Yeah. So, anyways, the girl that cursed me out, right? She was upset. And since I'm empathetic, and since being empathetic is my saving grace, I'm not gonna get consumed by her cursing me out, even though, quote unquote, she shouldn't be doing that. Yeah, I'm not excited to get cursed out. It doesn't exhilarate me to like get mistreated by people. But since I'm so damn understanding, I just know that if you're treating me foul, something must be up with you. It must be something really deep. You're going through something. You know what I mean? And because I care to like try to figure out what that is, and to the best of my ability, try to guide you towards being better if you respect my opinion enough to listen to my advice, because there's a lot of cases where people just might not respect your opinion. If you wonder why people are not listening to you, a couple reasons. They don't like you. One, that's usually number one. Two, they don't respect your opinion. Three, you don't have the life results that they want to have. For instance, like maybe you're living in poverty trying to tell somebody how to get rich, and it just sounds weird coming from you because they don't think that you're qualified to have that conversation with them. Because of that alone, that becomes the reason that they don't listen to whatever it is you have to say. So perspective matters a lot. Like there's a lot of terrible people in this world that they consider themselves as good people. They swear they're so good, you know what I mean? But when you listen to how other people perceive them, like, it's like, a lot of other people perceive them to be very messed up people, you know? So it's so interesting that before I get back into the story of how the girl cursed me out and how I handled that, it's so interesting that Gary Vaynerchuk once said, "My life is predicated on the locker room conversations." And that was interesting. And he says, my reputation has a lot to do with what people say about me. You know what I mean? And he was talking, and then he started talking about the halo effect, where when you do good things, magical things happen, where because of your acts of kindness, people have nothing but good to say about your acts of kindness. And then they spread your stories, and then people want to meet you because they can't believe you're so damn kind, because this world is, they perceive the world to be so evil that when they hear about such acts of kindness, they're just thrilled and they want to know more about this person, because they don't believe people like that exist, because they're cynical towards the world. You know what I mean? So these are the locker room conversations that are happening behind your back. You know what I'm saying? If people have nothing but bad to say about you when you're not around, how much of that is your fault? You know what I'm saying? How much of that do you have something to do with? You know what I mean? But a lot of people, they'll bleed into delusion and be like, "Oh, it's not my fault. Like, maybe they're twisted people, or maybe it's them, or maybe it's this, or, So yeah, if it's ever like, I typically I don't care about rumors, but like if someone's saying something bad about me, right? Which I believe they have permission, like they have full permission to do that. And it's not me that gives them permission. God gives people the ability to have free will, to pick, to have the option on whether they're going to be righteous or unrighteous, evil or good, or, what I'm saying, honest or dishonest. Like, that's your privilege, what I'm saying, to choose what your character is going to be. You know what I mean? But the only reason that I would even remotely be interested in what's going on behind my back is to know that if I have something to do with that, with why I'm not being well received, what the hell can I do to, to change that, to be, it doesn't mean that I'm trying to please all people, because this is the part of the this is the part of the podcast where people hear that part and they're like, "Yo, what are you, alive to try to please everybody?" It's like, nah, I'm just trying to make adjustments so that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that I could just try to be the best version of myself, you know what I mean? To the best of my ability. Yes, I'm not going to please everybody. Yes, some people are going to hate no matter what. And it's just in their character at the moment to be that way, which I can't help that. You know what I'm saying? I can't help these people. But what I'm saying is, if there's anything that I'm neglecting to do that I could do better, here's what I like about people that don't like me. They'll tell me exactly what they don't like. You know what I'm saying? Something that your friends might not tell you. Your friends might not be comfortable telling you what they think makes you a piece of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe they view you as being a piece of shit, but they'll never tell you that. You know what I'm saying? And and then when they tell you, you're incapable of handling it because you're too sensitive to be told the truth. Because then you'll be like, "Oh, well, is that your skewed perspective of me, or am I really the person that you describe me to be?" You know what I'm saying? So let me give you an example, right, of what I'm saying. One time I had a conversation with my mom, and she said, I forgot what she said, but she was like, "Oh, sorry." She was like, "Oh, every time I talk to you, you seem bothered, right?" Now, if I'm always bothered when I talk to her, like if that's actually a reality, that's a whole separate story. But if it feels like her reality to her, then she's not going to know the difference, because whatever you perceive as reality becomes your reality, because that's how you perceive it. So if my mom, every time she talks to me, it seems like her talking to me is bothering me, whether that's true or not doesn't matter. The fact that it's true in her mind makes it true to her, even if it's not true to me. You know what I mean? Perception runs so damn deep, you know what I mean? And this is why I care to have those conversations, because it's like, I like then I have to like then that scenario happens and I have to question myself. Damn, like how am I reacting? What am I doing that makes her feel that way? Like, you know what I mean? And now I become conscious, or I could bleed into delusion and be like, oh well, you just have a twisted perspective. Like maybe you're the one that's always bothered. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's this, and then never understand what the hell is making my mom feel a certain way. You know what I mean? So when you live a life in a way that's first beneficial to you, but then in a way that benefits other people, that's how you get what you want out of life. You know what I'm saying? Because when it benefits you first, such as you not being a basket case, you not caring about your expectations on other people, you not having a criteria that other people need to follow in order for you to be okay, you're no longer a liability to other people. You know what I'm saying? Like some of you, people are always cutting you out of their life and you're wondering why. It might have something to do with your expectations or the criteria that you set on people. You know what I mean? Some of you people are religious. You meet other people that are supposed to be religious, and because they're not as religious as you think they should be, within a couple days of knowing them, you're quoting Bible scriptures only to correct their behavior, only to tell them what they should be. And they get tired of that. And then they cut you off within a week of knowing you. And you might wonder why that is. They don't like being, it's deeper than people just don't like being corrected. They don't like being like, feeling like they have to be the person that you want them to be. You know what I'm saying? This is why when I give advice, I completely respect the person I'm talking to the point that if they go the other direction of what I'm advising them to do, that's okay. I'm completely okay with that. I'm not going to spend my time thinking their choices in life are retarded. I'm not going to spend my time criticizing their decisions, or how could you, or why don't you listen, or the damn youth doesn't listen, this damn younger generation. And then just spend my whole life getting mad at people that don't listen. You know what I'm saying? If you don't listen, that has nothing to do with me. That has a lot to do with you probably. Like maybe you just have an indoctrination that doesn't allow you to listen to my indoctrination, to my philosophy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how I got so damn kind? I brainwashed myself into being this way because I saw the benefits of being kind. And I realized, whoa, like, you know what I'm saying? Yo, when I first got into marketing, like, and I started caring about marketing, I was marketing for me. And because I was marketing for me, I was only annoying more people than I helped. So many people, they go to God for what they could get out of God. They go to God to go to heaven. That's it. And then when you market the gospel, you know what I'm saying? And I know a lot of people hate when I use the word marketing and God's word. You know what I'm saying? But everybody's a salesman, whether you benefit financially from it or not. You have a philosophy that you want people to listen to. And if you're condescending, patronizing, and making people feel bad just because, and making them feel less than just because they don't want to listen to you, you got to understand what type of emotional effect that's having on people to the point that they no longer want to be around you because you're impossible to be next to without you criticizing everything. You know what I'm saying? And even though the advice that you're giving is right, even though if they listen to you, yes, their life will be better. Even though it's sound advice, they don't respect the advice because they don't respect the person that it's coming from. You know what I mean? I understand that so deeply, that there was a girl that I love so much, right? That I just became a person that she viewed me in a certain way, and there was no escaping her perception of me, right? So my prayer was, God, please send somebody into her life that has the same, like, that believes the same thing as me, that could help her out. You know what I'm saying? That's saying the same stuff. Like, God, put someone in her life that's saying the same stuff that I used to say, but in a way that's not forceful, in a way that she could receive it, in a way that the person speaking, she actually admires the person speaking. She actually looks up to the person talking, because admiration is the only way to get people to listen to you. So that's the reason I care about admiration. It's not because I'm fucking insecure and I desperately need people to think I'm cool. It's because once you admire me, now that I have valuable, because I care about one thing. I want to bring value to people. First, I need to, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I need to be perceived as a person that people like. You know what I mean? I have to, like, people have to admire me first. Once I get the admiration from you, now everything that I have to say, you might just listen to it because I'm someone that you respect. Or there's also a chance you won't listen to it because mental conditioning, indoctrination. You know what I mean? It's hard to overcome habits. I get that. Like, people have been so indoctrinated into living life a certain way that when they hear that things are possible, or they you know what I'm saying? Like, this is why entrepreneurs are always fighting with working class people, because working class people don't understand all the opportunity that's out there, because they're not training their minds to look for that. They're training their minds to be hired at a job. That's all they understand. That's all they know. So the whole entrepreneur stuff is a whole nother language to them. They don't fluently speak entrepreneur. That's why when you start talking entrepreneur, it's a foreign language to them. It's not something they grew up with. It's not something that they're indoctrinated into. And although you're escaping out of the matrix, you know what I'm saying? I know you call it the matrix, right? You're escaping out of it, right? And you're trying to get other people to escape. Some people are comfortable living in the matrix. How many of you saw the Matrix, right? You know that one guy, Cypher? He was so satisfied to eat an invisible piece of steak, so satisfied that he wants to be plugged back into the matrix, because now that he saw what reality is, he wants to go backwards, because he was comfortable with his delusion of what he thought life was, and he wants to go back into a delusion. So because I understand that, that's why when I meet people, some people prefer to be trapped inside of the matrix. Some people don't want to escape the matrix. And because I know that, I'm going to spend zero time trying to convert the unconvertible, trying to like speak to people that, you know what I mean, like, that are not reasonable, that are not, you know what I mean? Like, some things are just not for certain people. I was having, like, before I did this podcast, I was really thinking about something that I don't know if this would piss people off, but I'm gonna say it anyway. But I was thinking about the gospel, right? God's word, like heaven, the whole concept of heaven. I'm like, yo, is heaven for everybody? Like, yes, like, you're supposed to preach it to everybody, like the gospel, like, you know, the Bible. I get that, you know, because you don't know who's going to heaven and who's not. So you preach it as if you don't know who's saved and who's not, and just praying that God, like, you know, waters the seed that you're sowing. But I started asking myself, is something for everybody if they're going to spend their whole life rejecting it? You know what I'm saying? Like veganism. Veganism is probably an amazing diet plan. I agree. You know what I'm saying? It probably gives you more years of life. You know, you probably live longer being a vegan. I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough to really like have a full in-depth conversation about it. But what I'm trying to say is veganism for everybody? If you ask a vegan, they'll tell you, of course, it's for everybody. Name one person that it's not for. But then I want to ask that person, is it for the person that's going to spend their whole life rejecting it? You know what I mean? And are you not wasting your time having conversations with the person that has zero interest in being a vegan? Like, yes, you're passionate about being a vegan, but the person that you're speaking to has no interest in that, because they like milk, they like cheese, they don't care what it's doing to their body. They value the taste. And although that sounds retarded to you, because you're like, yo, people should value living a long life more than taste, there's a lot of dumb stuff that people value. You know what I'm saying? Like watching not 10 hours of Netflix or 10 hours of Fortnite. You know why people do stuff like that? Because they feel like they need a form of escapism. You know why people are always stuck in escape mode? Because they live a life that they're not proud to talk about. You know what I mean? They live a life that they're unsatisfied with. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe they just don't like their life. That's why they're always escaping, because escapism is the only thing that they have to get away from the life that they've created. And they have a victim mentality, and they feel like they don't have anything to do with the circumstances. It's not their fault. They're in that predicament, and they have zero power in changing their circumstance. This is why people stay stationary for so long. They don't believe, lack of faith, basically. They don't believe that they could change their circumstance if they tried their best. I met a girl who was like, yo, I heard all that positive shit before. There's nothing you could say that's going to convince me to not be depressed. And she was feeling suicidal. Once she starts believing that there's nothing she could hear that's going to make her feel better, that's it. Her fate is sealed. You know what I'm saying? And then now more suicidal thoughts are going to come in. Now more depression is going to come in, because no matter how much you hear a guy like me talking about positivity, you're going to be like, yeah, but you don't know my story. You don't know what it's like to be 15 years old, growing up in Alabama, and some guy says this to you, and then this happens, and then you try to get everybody to relate to a story that you're not proud to tell. And then yesterday becomes tomorrow, indefinitely, forever, until you die. That's the trap. That's the cycle that people are stuck in. Now, they don't even know that they're stuck in that cycle. You know what I'm saying? Because when you're outside of the matrix, you know exactly who's in it. You know what I'm saying? But to these people, they don't even know what the hell you're talking about when you tell them a whole nother world exists. They're like, what? This is why entrepreneurs fight with the working class people. This is why Christians are fighting non-believers. Muslims are fighting Buddhists. And it's all about, you know what I'm saying? And because there's a verse in the Bible that says we war not against flesh and blood, but spirits and principalities. When I think about principalities, I think about principles. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's there's principles that make people that, people think that other people have to succumb to. Principles such as, when I send you a text message, you should at least get back to me within 4 hours of me sending it, and they think their expectation is reasonable. That's a principle that they have. You know what I mean? So we war not against flesh and blood, which means if you send me a text message and it's been 3 damn weeks, 4 weeks, and I still haven't gotten back to you, if we argue about that, it's not even me and you arguing. It's our principles. It's your principle versus mine. I have a principle that says that I don't owe you anything. You don't owe me anything. You know what I'm saying? I just want to love people to the best of my ability. And because if we woke up in the morning with trying to do right by each other to the best of our ability, how can we ever go wrong? And if we had zero expectations tied to that, you know what I'm saying? The only way that we get like caught up in arguments is when we have expectations on each other's shoulder. That's why I talk about expectations so much, because the word should and shouldn't are destroying lives. You know what I'm saying? These are the words that people say when they're so upset. They focus on what should be happening, what shouldn't be happening. Like, people shouldn't smoke, people shouldn't do this, people shouldn't curse. You know why curse words bother the elderly? Because elderly people believe that curse words shouldn't ever be happening, because they've been conditioned to believe that by whatever doctrination they grew up under, whether it be their parents or whatever. It's just very distasteful for a person to curse. I get that. But because I care more about the person who's offended by curse words than I care about how much I want to hold on to what I think is me as a person, that's why I'm willing to change. That's why I'm willing to adapt, because everything that I speak, everything that I post, I believe in it so much that if I have something to do with why it's not being received, I'm willing to adapt and change for the sake of that person being reached. There's another scripture in the Bible that says, I became all things for the sake of the gospel. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's up, Sky? Like, it says to this class of people, I became this type of character. To these type of people, I became that way for the sake of reaching them, for the sake of it. There's even someone pointed out something to me that I think, like, Paul was going to other cities and stuff, and he was willing to eat pork. He was willing to eat foods that he wasn't accustomed to eating, just so that he could build rapport with the people, just so that he could have conversations with these people for the sake of the gospel. I thought that was amazing, because I know a lot of people get religious when it comes to pork, food, eating meat or cheeses or certain vegetables, or it needs to be this type of, you know what I'm saying? Like, diet itself and what you eat has become a religion. You know what I mean? And everybody's a nutritionist. Everybody's a dietary, informant. You know what I mean? And it's and then they try to uphold that standard on other people's life, and they think they're being helpful, but they don't know how annoying they're being. You know what I'm saying? So these are the things that I've been noticing, that I pay attention to, that I'm always asking myself, how can I adapt? How can I become better? You know what I'm saying? Because when you're more religious than you are loving, you're going to annoy more people than you help. When you're more loving than you are religious, you're going to help more people than you annoy. The equation is the reverse. There's a lot of religious people that think they're being helpful by quoting 1,000 scriptures, and they think that helps people, that that you hold somebody to such a high standard. What helps people is when they don't deserve your love, but you give it to them anyways, right? And you just gently remind them that they're capable of more, that you remind them of their potential, what's possible if they had faith, what's possible, without getting mad if they don't listen, without, getting triggered by people that prefer to do things their way. You know what I'm saying? Because let me tell you something about pride, right? And a lot of you don't like prideful people or arrogant people, but if you're always pointing out the pride in other people, then doesn't that make you prideful in that area? Isn't that your pride to point out everybody else's pride? You know what I'm saying? Doesn't that make you prideful? If you hate people that complain and you're always complaining about people that complain, doesn't that make you a complainer? You see what I mean? So before you criticize somebody, ask yourself, do you have qualities that you're criticizing? Do you currently possess qualities that you would make fun of somebody for having, but yet you don't even have the self-awareness to understand that you have these same qualities that you're critiquing? I had a friend who, he hated the way his dad treated him. He hated certain things about his father, but yet he's becoming those very exact characteristics of the things that he criticized. You know what I'm saying? He would be like, yo, I hate when my dad does this. I hate when and I would listen to him, and I'm like, bro, this dude is so guilty of so many things that he claims that he hates. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. It's a vicious cycle how, a lot of people, they hated the way they were parented, and then you grow up and they have kids and they parent their kids the same way. You hated that you hated that your parents forced you to become a doctor, because that's the only thing that they perceive as success, is being a doctor, being a lawyer, or, you know what I'm saying? Or being a businessman. There's certain things that people put on a pedestal and they say, yo, this is success. Give me a second. I apologize for the notification. And because they put that on a pedestal, they think anything less than that is failure. You know what I mean? And you hated that your parents like put certain things on a pedestal and forced you into school and forced you to like get into student loan debt. But now that you have kids, you're going to force them to do the same thing that you hated to be forced to do. Like, how does that make sense? You would think that, you know what I'm saying, you would adapt and you would be like, yo, I'll be damned if I put my kids through the same thing that my parents put me through, especially when I hated it. And then you get surprised when your kids hate you for putting them through the same pressure that your parents put you through. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, if you hated your parents when they did this to you, why would you be surprised that your kids would turn around and hate you for doing the same things back to them? You know what I mean? So these are the things that, you know what I mean? If you're not self-aware, if you're empathetic, and to be empathetic, you just have to believe one thing, believe that people have the right to do what they prefer to be doing, even if you don't agree with it, even if you don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, believing that liars have the right to lie if they want to keep lying. You know what I'm saying? I know that's crazy. And I'm not saying that I'm trying to empower liars to continue being that way. But what I'm saying is, what am I going to do? Complain about it all day? Like, I can't put myself in a position where I'm losing sleep over this stuff. Man, why do liars lie? It's like, yo, it's a liar. What do you expect from a liar besides a lie? Would you expect truth to come out of them? Like, you're going to classify them as a liar and then be surprised when nothing but lies come out of them? What do you expect from a lying person? Like, what do you expect besides a mischievous person? Besides for them to be doing mischievous things? What do you expect from an evil person besides them to be talking about evil things? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you'll label somebody as something and then get surprised when they act according to what you just labeled them as. But you just labeled them. Like, you wasn't surprised to label them that. Now you're surprised when they act according to that label. It just makes no sense. You know what I mean? So anyways, I really want to talk. I spent a lot of time, like, talking about other stuff, but I'm setting up this talk to tell you about how to get what you want out of life. You know what I'm saying? Because I really want this podcast to be that to be the focus. You know what I'm saying? And the way to get how to get what you want out of life. You know what I'm saying? Well, first of all, like, when it comes to like entrepreneurship, having a product or service, having more money, those of you that want to have more money, it just comes down to bringing more value to the marketplace. I want to tell you about a guy who he paid people live on Twitch. I think it was on Twitch or on YouTube. He strapped a device to himself where he said anybody who wanted him to say like racist remarks, he would go into a public restaurant and he had a device strapped to himself and he would input these words and it would say a bunch of racist stuff, a bunch of hateful things, a bunch of whatever his viewers wanted his device to say, and he strapped it to himself and he sat there and acted like he wasn't the one saying these things, or he wasn't the one, like he had nothing to do with it. People were paying him live on Twitch to keep doing these things. They were paying him, some people $5. They'd be like, yo, I'll pay you $50 to say your grandmother's a cunt or whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? Stupid comments, and I know that doesn't seem valuable, but to these people, they felt like they were getting so much value out of that. And he made a fortune off of that. I know that's retarded. You know what I'm saying? I know that's like, yo, how is that bringing value to the marketplace? But that guy, he's an entertainer. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's doing what entertains people, and people are willing to give donations to say, hey, I want you to say this racist thing about white people or black people or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And it was paying him $50, $40, $5, some people $100. Yo, I'll pay you $100 to say this one thing, because they were competing with other people that were trying to get this guy to troll other people. You know what I'm saying? They were competing with everybody else who was watching the stream, who was trying to get him to say a specific keywords. I know that doesn't seem like it's bringing any value to a marketplace, but the market speaks for itself. You know what I'm saying? I don't think Minecraft is valuable, but that's just to me. I understand that other people are going to like that game. Because I get that other people like it, I have no right to say that Minecraft shouldn't be valuable to anybody else. That's a very blanket, you know what I'm saying? That's a very like subjective opinion. Now I'm trying to take my subjective opinion and make it like a broad, like everyone should view it the same as me. But no, why should they? You know what I'm saying? Like, why does everyone not have to like something just because I don't like it? You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know if you guys are working on an application that you're trying to build, or if you're trying to be a speaker, or if you're trying to, whatever your goal is. Like, I just know that money is a value exchange. There's a reason why every month you have bills. It's because, your house is being heated. They're giving you electricity. Like, I don't know if you guys you pay for cable. I don't know who the hell pays for cable anymore, but maybe your cable bill, like, you know what I'm saying? You use products and services, and then you get mad when they charge you for using your products and services, but they're giving you value. And that's why they expect money in return, because money itself is a value exchange. This is why, like, your rent is going to cost you $1,000, somewhere anywhere between 400 if you live somewhere in Arizona and 1,400 if you live in New York City. You know what I mean? Because the value of living in New York, you know why it costs so much money to live in New York City? Because a lot of people want to live there, and the marketplace for New York City is huge. You know what I'm saying? And they know the value of wanting to live there. A lot of people want to live there, so they figured, you know what I'm saying, like they could raise the price because the value of that land is higher, because they know the perceived value of New York City. You know what I'm saying? According to the marketplace. So give me a second. Trying to think of what I was going to say next. I have no idea. That just completely lost me. But so yeah, and I know some of you live in New York and you're like, yeah, I've been there. It's not that glamorous. It's not that this. It's still the tourist attraction. It's still, you know what I'm saying? You know, the way that the world looks at America, they see three places. Los Angeles. First, they see New York, probably. It's between New York and Los Angeles. I don't know which one is more popular, but they see New York on the right. They see Los Angeles on the left, and they see Florida on the bottom. They don't know what the hell is in between. That's all foreigners know. You know what I'm saying? So that's why, because of the perceived value of these three places, that's why rent might just cost more money in Miami, in California, and you know, in Los Angeles, in New York City, than it would in Arizona. You know what I'm saying? Than it would in North Dakota. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not sure if foreigners come to, like, yo, I can't wait to come to America, man. Yo, where are you going? I'm going to North Dakota. Like, where the hell is that? Like, you see what I mean? So yeah, this is why, like, rent is like a ridiculous amount of money. But anyways, getting back to, okay, that's what I was saying. Value, currency exchange, not currency exchange. Money is a value exchange. You know what I mean? So because you get to live at a certain place for another month, at the end of that month, you get charged for living at that place because they're providing you value. The value they're giving you is a place to live. Somebody sold you a home, you know, whatever it is, an apartment unit. Like, I don't know how you're set up, whether it's mortgage, whether it's this, your cell phone bill. They're providing monthly services. You know what I'm saying? You get to call as many people as you want, but you have to pay that bill. So I want you to notice how a lot of poor class people, they hate receiving bills, right? But they love the value of the services that they're getting. They just don't like paying for it. You know what I mean? And they have that mentality. And then their mentality on money is just, how can I make as much of it as possible? How can I get $1 million? Their mentality is not, how can I serve 1 million people? There's nothing to gain without servitude. You know what I mean? Some of the wealthiest people in this world, they're nothing besides one thing. Like the biggest servants. You know what I mean? They've served the biggest amount of people in that industry. Like, getting back to Steve Jobs and what I was talking about, Steve Jobs have served 1 billion. He sold 1 billion units with the iPhone. So that's how many people he served. That's why he's rich. You know what I mean? When you become the reason, let me talk about this guy really briefly. Jeff Bezos. 6,000 people are directly employed under him. When you become the reason that 6,000 other people have a job because of you, how much value does that bring to the marketplace? How much more money are you going to make because you directly employ 6,000 people work under you? You know what I'm saying? Like, so you know how much money you're going to make because of that? You're bringing a lot of value to the marketplace. So you see how in all these scenarios, bringing value to other people brings value to you. You know what I mean? Like, you know why I respect people's free will? Why? Because that intrigues people, man. There's a lot of controlling people that they don't care. They only want you to listen to their advice. They have no pity or no sympathy for you, like, going the other direction, or they don't think that you should. They're going to call you retarded if you do. You know what I'm saying? Because of that, you make yourself out to be a person that nobody wants to listen to. And because of that, even though you have great advice, no one wants to take it because they don't like the scumbag person that it's coming from. And when they have that skewed vision on you being a scumbag, you're going to question why no one listens to you. I'm telling you why they don't listen, because you're too forceful with your advice and you're a know-it-all. You think that they have to listen. I feel like you don't owe me anything. You're under no obligation to listen to me about business, to join my company, to take any of my advice about emotions or how to maintain them, to take any of the advice that I do on these podcasts about how to not be a victim anymore, how to be happy, how to, you know what I'm saying? Like, none of you owe me anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't owe me nothing. You know what I'm saying? And if I knew somebody who told me, yo, I've been listening to your podcast for a whole year and I haven't done anything, my first instinct is not to get mad at that person. A lot of you, that is your first instinct, is to get mad at someone who you've been talking to for so long and you're like, damn, how come you don't get it by now? There's a lot of reasons for why a person doesn't get it. But if you make it your issue to get mad at these people, then what you want is for them to change their life. And maybe you do have pure intentions, but people don't judge your intentions. They judge your presentation. And if they don't like your presentation, they're going to judge what they think your intention is based on your presentation. I read a quote that says, no matter how good your presentation is, no matter how good your presentation is, God is gonna judge your intentions. So God, he sees things on a deeper level, not on a shallow level. Like he'll see past how horrible your presentation is, and he understands what your intention is behind that presentation. But so that's God, right? No matter how good your, sometimes I get it confused, my bad. No matter how good your presentation is, God sees your intention. No matter how good your intentions are, people, they're only able to see your presentation. You know what I mean? This is why I want to tell you another story. There was a guy he's only a $10,000 speaker. And I know you're like, yo, why do you use the word only in front of the word 10,000? Like a $10,000 speaker, that's a lot of money, dude. That's because there's people that they make $40,000, $50,000, $200,000. One of my favorite speakers, Gary Vaynerchuk, when he does a keynote speech, he does it for $200,000, somewhere between $150,000 and $200,000 to speak for an hour, maybe 2 hours, you know, because, and a lot of people are willing to pay him that much. He told a story once about how one guy was like, yo, I'll have a 1 hour conversation with you. I'll pay you $100. From individual to individual, one man was willing to pay him $100,000 for an hour of his time because that's the perceived value. Sometimes there's a disconnect between the value you think you're bringing people and the value that they perceive that you're bringing. Sometimes you're trying to tell people that they should be satisfied with what you just gave them, but they don't perceive what you just gave them to be valuable. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes what you just gave somebody means nothing to them, and that's why they have no gratitude. That's why they don't appreciate, because what you think is so special that you just did for a person, like maybe you just think that you bought them a gourmet dinner, and they view in their mind your gourmet dinner is nothing besides a bag of fucking potato chips. That's how they view it. And when you view something as a bag of potato chips, it's like, yeah, like, well, it's nice you bought me a bag of potato chips, dude, but like, you know, like, where's the meal? And you're like, dude, I just bought you a gourmet dinner. Are you kidding me? Like, and you're trying to get them to appreciate something that they just don't care about because they don't perceive it the same way as you. You see what I mean? So perception, you know, you got to be empathetic towards other people's perception. It's the only way to understand other people is to want to understand them, is to try to understand them. You know what I'm saying? And when they tell you their explanation for why they do things the way they do, not to position yourself to only criticize them for not having your indoctrination, for not following your philosophy, or for not making sense out of the things that make sense to you. Because people are just different. You know, you're going to meet people and they have different mindsets, have different perspectives. And if you're always calling people retarded for being where they are, you're positioning yourself to be at war with every human being. And we're not at war against, it's not a war against flesh and blood, but spirits and principalities and high places. You're at war with, it's your philosophy versus theirs. Every argument you ever had has always been your ego versus somebody else, your pride versus somebody else, your standard of what you think life should be versus somebody's standard of telling you, I don't give a damn about your perspective or your standard. You know what I mean? Like you're like nagging of how people should respond to your text messages within 4 hours of receiving them versus them saying, yo, I don't owe you anything and I don't have to do anything that I don't feel like doing. So this is the reason empathy is my saving grace. And like, cause I understand that people don't do what they should be doing. They do whatever the hell they prefer to be doing. So this is why I don't get tripped out about human behavior anymore and why nothing surprises me anymore. Because if you're doing what you prefer to do, then I'm not surprised that you're doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me give you some examples of things that doesn't make sense to me and probably never will, because I'm just not. There's some people in this world that they enjoy torturing animals slowly until it dies. I know that's cynical. I know that's crazy and that's weird. It's like, what the hell? But you know why they do it? Because they have a mindset where that makes sense to them. They just have a perspective, a philosophy where that's reasonable to them. They like torturing animals very slowly until it dies. And they like the more that the animal screams, the more satisfied that they are. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if you're a loving person, maybe that's not meant to make sense to you because you will never have the mentality where that's like, but one thing I understand that makes me understand every human being is everybody has a mindset that makes their current actions permissible. And that's the only reason they engage and mediocrity and being evil and being stubborn and being, you know what I'm saying? Because they have an invested interest in maintaining who they are, because the only sense of identity that they have is found in their current self. And they don't even know that there's a self that transcends beyond who they currently are. They don't know who they were created to be. They don't know who they were born to be. They don't know how amazing. I don't believe Hitler was meant to do the things that he did. I believe he became that way. You know what I'm saying? Like he could have chose a different life. Instead of killing 6 million people, he could have been a motivational speaker. He could have inspired 6 million people, but he chose to go the other direction. You know what I'm saying? He chose to, like, to be evil. He chose to, like, he had a philosophy that made sense to him. You know what I'm saying? What's up, Timothy? Like, Hitler had a philosophy that killing Jews is a reasonable thing in his mind. I know how sinister that is, and I know how crazy that sounds. But you got to understand, in his perspective, he thought it made perfect sense within his own mind. You know what I mean? Spider-Man once had a quote in Avengers, and he says, "You think you're right when you're wrong, and that makes you dangerous." You know, like, the most dangerous person is the person who's completely wrong, but they swear that they're right, because they're going to be dangerous in their approach. You know what I mean? This is why Christians are getting killed and beheaded right now, because people think that's a justified means to deal with disagreement. Well, I'll just kill the people that disagree with me. And they believe that they're right. They believe that they're so right, like suicide bombers. They believe that they're going to heaven when they die. They believe that it's okay to go in these buildings strapped with a bomb on their chest and blow up everybody in the vicinity that doesn't accept their indoctrination. That makes sense to them. Why? Because they have a mindset that makes their actions permissible and justifiable. And because they feel justified, therefore they are justified. It's a very scary thing because, you know, there's a scripture in the Bible where it says, you know, these people, they're going to become gods unto themselves. You know what it means to be a god unto yourself? It means you don't need God to give you rules anymore, because you are your own God, which means you create your own system of authority that governs your whole mind, that governs your whole life. Like, you answer to nobody besides your own theology, your own philosophy of what you think life should be. That's what you answer to. People are possessed by their ideas, by their indoctrinations, you know what I'm saying? This is why, and because I know that's how I know it's not personal. That's why, getting back to that girl that cursed me out, who I wanted to rip her head off, but I'm so glad I had empathy towards her. She cursed me out because I found out later that day, a couple days later, she actually told me, she was like, "Yo, I'm getting bullied. You know what I'm saying? People are doing this to me. My mom, like, I tell her I'm going through stuff and she doesn't care. She doesn't give a damn. People are doing this." So she's getting consumed by the world. She's getting consumed by everything that she's not proud to be going through. Because she's spending her time getting consumed, that's why I could get on PlayStation and randomly get cursed out by her. Even though her anger has nothing to do with me, she takes it out on me because she hates life. And when people hate life, I expect them to take it out on other people, because that's how they vent. That's how they cope. And I know a lot of people hate that. They're like, "Yo, I don't care what you're going through. Don't ever put what you're going through on me as if I'm responsible for your issues." And we speak to people that way because we don't care what they're going through. We just care that their attitude is affecting us negatively. And we're trying to put them in their place so that they can stop being a hindrance on our life, because deep down inside, we don't give a damn what they're going through, as long as what they're going through doesn't, like, start affecting us personally. You know what I'm saying? And then we just get mad at them instead of having empathy and compassion. You know what I mean? Like, so I want to tell you guys another story, right? And then I'm gonna get back on topic about, you know, getting what you want. But basically, if you help as many people get what they want, you know what I'm saying, you will get what you want. You know what I'm saying? I want to say that briefly before I get into the story about Walmart. So I have a friend, right? He was so dissatisfied with a person that works at Walmart not being excited to say hello and greetings and salutations and good morning or whatever it is that Walmart employees are supposed to be doing. I get it. You know what I'm saying? And he actually reported that person and was like, "Yo, if you're going to have a person greet your customers and sit in front of the store, like, at least put pleasant people at the front of the store." So now he's expressing his complaints. Why is he complaining? Because he's dissatisfied with how somebody's behaving. Why is he dissatisfied with how somebody's behaving? Because things needs to go according to his liking, because he's alive for himself. Even though he claims Christianity, you're supposed to die to yourself. Like, there's a scripture in the Bible that says, "If any man comes to me, he must first deny himself." You know what that means? You can't come to Jesus for your own self-beneficial gain. You can't come to God just to go to heaven when you die, because if that's the only reason you came, you're not going to care about people. Trust me, man, because when I got baptized, I didn't give a damn about you. I was trying to secure my spot into heaven. I didn't care about people. You know what I'm saying? And there's scriptures in the Bible that says, if you don't love, you don't know God. Because if you love, you are of God. And if you don't love, you don't even know him. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? And somewhere in John, I forgot where exactly. But yeah, man. So I was only saved to go to heaven. That's it. I didn't care about nothing else besides securing my own salvation, because I didn't give a damn about anything else that was outside of me. self-preservation. And at the end of my life, nothing gets preserved because I'm only trying to preserve me, and no seeds get planted. Nobody gets helped out. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, I'm so impressed with people that have the ability to become a millionaire. I'm even that much more impressed with their ability to reproduce that, you know what I'm saying, to make other people millionaires, to teach other people how to do the things that they did so that they could live the life that, you know what I'm saying? Because, like, if I become a millionaire, yeah, yay, hooray for me, like, that's awesome. But how many other people can I help get to that level? You know what I'm saying? Because that's how you determine a leader, by the quality of their followers. You know what I'm saying? The quality of the people that they're helping. Like, what are the people that they're helping? What are they becoming as a direct result to the person doing the mentoring? Like, you know what I'm saying? So, man, what the hell was that? I'm telling so many stories at once that I get, you know what I'm saying, stuck sometimes. So I apologize. Yeah, so to the girl that cursed me out, right? I found out that she was sad. I found out she was depressed. She was suicidal. And then I was like, oh, okay. And I instantly, I thank God. I was like, thank God for Tony Robbins' life, because Tony Robbins taught me, when somebody talks to you in a manner that you don't like, it's one of two reasons. It's either a loving response, you know, or it's a desperate cry for help. And usually people respond to a desperate cry for help by crying themselves. So I could have cried myself. I could have been like, yo, you don't have the right to talk to me that way. You shouldn't do this, or it should be this way. You need to behave yourself. I could have did that. Or I could have just understood that it was just a desperate cry for help, because internally she's dying inside and she needs assistance in certain areas. And people don't always express it that way. And people will be like, oh, well, you could have said that instead of taking out your problems on me, as if your problems are my problems or I have something to do with your problems. People won't tell you that, you know what I'm saying? They're being overcome by life, you know what I'm saying? And it just rubs off on other people. So, what's up, Katie? So instead of getting consumed by her behavior, I was like, yo, let me just be patient. And I found out she was going through stuff that was making her act in a way that she wouldn't act if she wasn't going through so much. You know what I mean? Or from her perception, she believes if she wasn't going through so much, then she could have gratitude. And that's the thing about life. You think that because certain things happen that now you have to have an emotional response to life. No, you don't. But you've been conditioned to believe that. You know what I'm saying? Like, when people die, it seems reasonable to mourn their death for 15, 17, 25 years. A lot of people have empathy towards that, and they'll be like, yo, well, I understand that you're still mourning. I get it. This, and that. And, you know, sometimes we might be like encouraging people to stay that way just by saying how much we empathize and understand, you know. But I have one. Give me a second. I apologize. I have a friend, right? I gotta tell you a story real quick. I'm getting to a lot of things this podcast. I have a friend that died 4 years ago, right? Really good friend. The only way that I was able to deal with his death is acceptance. Acceptance is the only way to deal with loss. Every time you feel disrespected, you feel like you're losing something. You know what I mean? You're losing a sense of like loss, like you lost respect from somebody, or someone doesn't respect you. Like, for instance, when someone doesn't get back to your text message until 5 hours later, you feel like they don't like you, or they don't respect you, or it's this, or maybe it's you. Your mind makes it out to be something negative when really maybe they're going through something, right? Maybe they're suicidal. Maybe they're parents just died. Maybe it could be a million reasons why somebody doesn't return your text, and it might have nothing to do with you. But if you make it all about you, then, you know what I'm saying? Like, in your mind, it'll be all about because of you. And then you won't be able to be convinced otherwise, because you're so sold on a belief system that if someone doesn't get back to me within 4 hours, it's because, you know, well, first of all, no one has to, they're under no obligation to get back to you. You know what I mean? Like, because I don't think that you have to return my text messages. That will be the very reason why when you don't, there's going to be no friction between us, because I don't give a damn. Like, you know what I'm saying? If I say something meaningful, like, I don't care that, like, that you don't have to respond to me saying how much that quote changed your life, or it saved your marriage, or you don't owe me none of that. So, and I'm not going to put pressure on you to be the person I think you should be, or how you should respond, or how you should have dignity, or how you should be respectful, or bro, you don't have to do nothing if you don't feel like it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thoroughly believe that. And that's why I feel like I'm in a much better position to love people. Some people might be like, yo, aren't you enabling messed up people to continue being messed up? Nah, love doesn't enable you to change. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, people be like, yo, what about judgment? Like, I know it's about love. I know it's about grace, but what about accountability? What about rebuke? What about, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, people think that their goal in the morning is to wake up and correct somebody else's behavior. You know what I'm saying? And you don't have no grace for a person messing up. And so I want to tell you something about grace. I want to tell you about a situation where I was I had an ex-girlfriend, right? She was atheist. And towards the last, I say 3 months, I was kind of like verbally abusive on purpose because I wanted her to leave me because I didn't have the dignity as a man to be like, yo, if I don't like this relationship, then I should just cut it off. I felt bad being the one that leaves. So my mindset was, I'm going to purposely annoy you and you're going to be the one that leaves. You know what I'm saying? Because that made more sense than to be like, yo, it's over. You know what I'm saying? I actually wasted a lot more energy purposely making myself out to be an annoying person that she's sick of so that she could be the one that leaves when I could have ended that in 5 minutes and been like, yo, I'm done with this. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy the shit that you rationalize and it makes no sense, but it makes sense to you for as long as you tell yourself that it makes sense. Sometimes there's things that make no sense, but if you keep telling yourself it makes perfect sense, then to you it's sensible, even though you're embracing foolishness that has no wisdom behind it, but you swear that it's wise. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, so we was in a car. We went from Burger King, and yo, she used to pay for a lot of my stuff, yo, man. Like she used to. We went to the movies. She paid for the tickets. She paid for the popcorn. She bought me sneakers. She took me places. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I was broke as hell. You know what I mean? Like, so for those of you that think someone won't love you when you're broke, someone could, but I just don't feel right going into a relationship being broke as hell and being in a financial liability to other people. It's healthy when two people have their own money, because then your partner's not always asking you for money and you're not always asking them, and both of you mutually contribute to the same cause, to the same roof, to the same bills, to the same expenses, and nobody is a liability to the other person. And that makes it that much more joyous to be with someone who's not financially draining every dollar out of you. But anyways, so we was in a car, right? We ate Burger King. I'm pretty sure she paid for it. But anyways, so she's driving me back home, right? And so she looks at me and she's like, yo, I love you. And I started crying. And I was like, you shouldn't love me. I was like, you're not supposed to love me because I'm mean to you. I do this. And she started crying. I was like, why are you crying? And wait, hold on. First of all, let me start over, right? So I started crying, right? She said, why are you crying? I said, because you're not supposed to love me, because I'm being mean to you. I'm being rude and you still care about me. That's weird. Like that shouldn't be happening. And then she started crying. I was like, wait, why are you crying? She was like, because I know that I shouldn't love you, but it doesn't change the fact that I still do. You know what I mean? Like the fact that I shouldn't love you doesn't stop me from loving you. And there's a scripture in the Bible that says where sin abounds, grace abounds even more, and mercy triumphs over judgment. So you got to understand, when you're kind to rude people, you're not enabling rude people to continue being rude. First of all, if a person wants to continue being rude, if they still have a justification for their actions, they're going to continue being that way because that's who they prefer to be at the moment. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, you know, how 2020 in hindsight, you understand things like years later. Sometimes it takes 5-6 years to pass before you realize you had a philosophy that you was indoctrinated into that makes absolutely no sense. It only makes as much sense as you told yourself that it does. And you was a slave to your own belief system, your own expectations, your own whatever it is that was holding you back in life from doing things. There's a lot of people that are a slave to their doubts, to their disbelief, to their lack of faith on how there's not a greater potential, and they're going to hate their life and hate their job for the next 26 years. And then that's why their life reflects the belief system. Your life will always reflect your belief system. Always. You know what I mean? You know why amazing people do amazing things? Because they believe amazing things are possible. There's no other reason, you know, like, and once you really, really believe something, now you have actions that you take on that belief system and you start manifesting the things that you believe is possible. You know what I'm saying? You know why the smartphone that I'm talking to you through exists? Because one man demanded that it does. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the reason planes exist. It's the reason skyscrapers exist. It's the reason because one man said, I'll be damned if it doesn't, because I'm going to create it. And I don't care how realistic, or it wasn't about real. This is why realistic, the word realistic pisses me off. If there's only one word that I hate in the vocabulary more than the elderly people hate curse words, is the word realistic. It's such a limiting word. You want to be a limited person? Keep using the word realistic to give yourself limitations. Oh, it's not realistic. It's not practical. How do you know what's not practical? You know what I'm saying? Like, you haven't even tried, like, and people won't try. That's the thing. When you think something's unrealistic, you won't even put yourself in a position to try because you already sold yourself. You know, you're already sold on the word no, and you can't do it. And when you don't believe, there's nothing in you to pull from to actually try to do something. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, what the hell was I saying? Oh yeah. So when I was in a car, right? When I said, yo, you shouldn't love me because I'm mean to you, she said, I know I shouldn't, but that doesn't change the fact that I do. it's crazy how God was showing me through an atheist person the love of God. You know what I'm saying? Someone that denies him, someone that claims they don't really believe that he exists, but yet they affirm him with their, you know what I'm saying, with their behavior, with their actions, with the things that they rationalize with. You know what I'm saying? Loving somebody that's mistreating you, you know? So getting back to getting what you want out of life, I think it comes down to becoming the best version of yourself. And I really think the best version of yourself can be found in God. You know what I mean? Becoming exactly what God wants you to be. God doesn't want you to be so sensitive that every word destroys your life. Like every mean comment makes you cry. You know what I'm saying? And you might be like, oh, well, yeah, I'm sensitive. That's just the way that I am. Like, is that the way that you are? Or is that the way that you became through the fall of man? Because there's a lot of broken people out here. And when you pacify your brokenness by measuring yourself according to other broken people, you give yourself permission to continue staying there, because it makes sense to be a broken down person because millions of other people are broken down. And then you rationalize your brokenness and continue to feel emotions that you don't want to feel, even though you hate the emotions that you feel, but you come to the conclusion that that's your identity because that's all you've known for the last 20 years. And now you think that the next 20 years needs to look like the last 20 years just because you know no different. And you've been indoctrinated and sold on a belief system that's way below your potential. And even though you are capable of more, even though the bar that could be set is like 50 feet higher than where it's set in your current life now, that won't matter to you because you don't believe in a greater potential. And because you don't believe, you don't take a step forward into becoming the best version of yourself. You know what I mean? So indoctrination. And so because I know all of this stuff, right? When I meet people that I tell them about their potential and they deny it, or they don't want to walk it out, or they don't want to believe, I'm empathetic towards how long it could change a human being to change their mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get that if you've been smoking for 35 years, you're going to believe that it's ultra hard to like stop, because that's 35 years of a routine, of a habit. But the only way to overcome habit is to replace habit with a new habit. Habit overcomes habit. So if you have a habit of not working out, the new habit is the habit of working out. It takes between 30 to 60 days to form a new habit. You know what I'm saying? 30 to 60 days to form a new habit. And within that time, if your habit is masturbating every day, it'll take about between 30 and 60 days for your new habit to be not masturbating every day. You know what I'm saying? So habit overtakes habit. But the thing is, these people don't believe in their ability to overcome, or their ability to put on a new habit. You know what I'm saying? Because they've been engaged in the same habit for so long. And they think that, and they keep telling themselves that they need, whether it be their addictions, or they need to be a certain type of person, or they need to be, there's a lot of messed up, mean people because they used to be kind and they've never received anything in return for their kindness. So they see all these assholes getting ahead in life and they feel like that's how they have to be. Let me give you an example, right? When Steve Jobs died, Gary Vaynerchuk did a speech on how much he hates Steve Jobs shortly after he passed. And that's probably a bad idea because he got booed off stage for talking about that man after he was dead like that. But he was like, the reason I hate Steve Jobs is because he started a whole empire of people. Steve Jobs used to be kind of mean and cruel to a lot of his employees. And he started a whole plethora of people who believed, if I want to, Steve Jobs is a billionaire and I look up to him. So if I want to be a billionaire, let me model his blueprint. And he started an empire of people that started mistreating other employees that were under them because they felt like that's what they had to do to get ahead, because Steve Jobs did it and he's a billionaire. So if I want to be a billionaire, I have to treat people like shit as well for me to get what I want out of life. So you see that type of indoctrination? Like, that's because of that. Like, so I know that some people, they might just be mean because they feel like that's the best way to get what you want out of life. Or they might see other people getting ahead and being mean, but they don't know that it wins in the short term. It doesn't win in the long term. Being a scam artist doesn't win in the long term. You know what I'm saying? Like, the person that scammed my mother out of $3,000 and makes a living scamming people out of consolidation things, like, he's going to get his, you know what I'm saying? Like, his career won't be long if he doesn't change, if he doesn't choose to like, let me find a legit way to actually bring value instead of trying to extract money out of people. You know why he's scamming people? Because he doesn't give a damn about the people he's serving. And he's not even serving people. He only cares about the money he could extract out of people. This is why we have certain views on salesmen. We think every person is like that. Every person is scummy. Every person doesn't have a valuable product or service, because for years, marketers and advertisers have been so intrusive and didn't respect our time. This is why it pisses you off so much when you're watching YouTube and you get advertised to. And even though you get to skip in 5 seconds, or sometimes it forces you to watch the ad for 15 seconds, You get so mad because you believe that they're wasting your time. You believe that they're not giving you anything that's worth your time consuming. And that's why you're not excited to be advertised to. Because for years, advertisement itself has been intrusive by nature. You know what I mean? So yeah, man. Anyways, I have a lot of things in my heart. Like this podcast, I hope is really shedding light on some things. I hope it's helping in certain areas. Give me a second. Let me see how much time I have. I'm at 37%. All right. So, the way to get what you want is to live your life in a way that first it benefits you, right? This is how you get what you want out of life. Live your life in a way that benefits you first, but also in a way that benefits your household, and also in a way that benefits your city, your town, your state, your nation. You know what I mean? Your region, and also in a way that benefits the whole planet. So what that means is when you become that person, you would never walk away from a homeless man that says that he's hungry and he wants food, knowing that you have money in your pocket that could help him. Because when you live your life in a way that also benefits the whole planet, you know it doesn't benefit that guy for you to walk away from him. Or if you're not the type to give money, I'm empathetic towards that. I get why. It's because you think that someone's going to overdose with your money and you don't want that on your conscience. So you just don't give money. This is how we justify not giving. We're like, oh, well, you're probably going to overdose on drugs anyways. And we think every homeless person, that's their intention. But it's like, yo, maybe dude is really starving. Like, and there's some people that are like, well, if you're hungry, I'll buy you food, but you're not about to get money out of me. And I get that as well. You know what I'm saying? So, but, when you live your life in a way that benefits other people, you choose to try to become the better version of yourself because it benefits not only you for being the best version of yourself, but it benefits everybody around you. You see this podcast I'm doing? It benefits whoever's listening. Well, or whoever cares to listen, let me say, because there's a lot of people that listen but probably don't care to listen. And that's fine too. Like it doesn't matter, like either way. But I have to put it out because I've learned so much, and it would be selfish of me to not want to put this stuff out. You know what I'm saying? That potentially could save marriages and relationships. You know what I mean? There's a lot of forceful ass people. They have no idea how forceful they're being and how people don't respect their opinion, because sometimes people won't tell you how much they dislike you. Sometimes they keep that to themselves because they don't like friction and they don't like controversy, and they feel like it's better to dislike you from a distance and make it seem like it's all cool. And I know you perceive that to be fake because it's like, why not just tell me? You got to ask yourself, are you making yourself an impossible person to talk to? When you make yourself out to be a person and nobody could tell anything to, well, then no wonder why nobody's not telling you anything. You've made yourself to be that person that no one could tell anything to. You see what I mean? So, anyways, I hope I'm bringing value. I'm probably going to end this podcast soon, but yeah, that's how you get what you want out of life. And sorry that it took so long for me to get to this, the punchline of this podcast, but yeah, man, just live your life in a way that benefits you first, but also in a way that benefits the whole entire planet, because other people benefit from you living out your potential. Be selfish in your pursuits. Be selfish in your, you know what I'm saying? Not selfish in a way where other people, like their life is at stake. You know what I'm saying? Not so selfish that you're willing to be the guy who scammed my mother out of $3,000. That's selfish to the core. Like, that's like, I don't give a damn about people. But being selfish in a way where you care to adapt, where if people don't appreciate your message, the way it's being delivered, you care to wonder what can you do to change so that your message can be delivered. Because maybe you have some goodness that you want to put out into this world, but people don't respect you as an efficient communicator. They don't like your communication style. And if you would only change the way that you speak to people, maybe people would be receptive towards your message. You might be like, well, if you don't receive the message, that's your goddamn problem. That has nothing to do with me. Sometimes people say, well, it's the message that they're rejecting. It has nothing to do with the messenger. Sometimes people hate the messenger. You know what I mean? Sometimes people, like, you might wonder why atheist people don't read the Bible. They hate God. You know what I'm saying? If they hate God, why would they care about his word? You know what I'm saying? Like, if they don't even believe he exists, like, why would they care about what he has to say? They believe he's imaginary to begin with. You see what I mean? Like, when you don't respect the author, why would you care about his book? When you don't respect the marketer, why would you care about his product? When you don't care about the person that's representing God, why would you care about the message when you don't like the person? You don't draw near to them. You don't care what they have to offer. You think it's, whatever they're preaching, whatever they're selling, it's only to their benefit that they preach it. You know what I'm saying? There's a scripture in the Bible that says, blood is on your hands for the people that you could have told your message to. I'm paraphrasing because I forgot exactly what it says. It's been a while since I read this passage. Something along the lines of, you're held responsible for the people that you didn't give the message to. You know what I mean? And that becomes the only reason that people preach the gospel, is because they don't want to be held accountable by God. And then their fear of being held accountable by God himself becomes the only driving factor behind them preaching the gospel. And that's why they annoy more people than they help, because they're only trying to throw people into God's kingdom, right? They're trying to force people to go to heaven. They probably don't think they need it. They don't, like, people don't feel like they need to be saved. That's why they don't take Jesus serious. They don't think that there's an afterlife. That's why they don't care to hear this message. And maybe they do believe. Maybe that's just what they tell you. But internally, they've always been wondering, and they're actually very scared to die because they don't know what's on the other side. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes there's a disconnect behind what people tell you and what's actually going on. I knew a guy who, every time I talk about purpose, dreams, God, value, like, he just didn't like, he was like, oh, you're talking about this crap again? And he would exit the room because he didn't want to be around that. He's running away from his purpose. He's running away from things that matter. That's why he embraces everything that doesn't matter, because he doesn't care about the couple things that do matter, such as what he wants to do before he die. I remember one time I asked this dude, yo, what's your dream? What do you want to accomplish before you die? Like, what are you excited about? Like, he was like, oh, no offense, dude, but that's kind of personal. I don't even want to talk about that. For a man to not want to talk about his dreams, must have pummeled this dude, man. Like, maybe he thinks that his dreams are unreachable, or someone convinced him into believing that. And now it brings him pain to even talk about it, because everything he wants, he believes is completely outside of his reach. And maybe that's the reason he avoids talking about it. I mean, I don't know. I'm only speculating. I have no idea. But one thing I do know, if every time people talk about God, he exits, he's running from truth. He's running from, or what could be true. You know what I'm saying? Because there's an accountability that happens once you know the truth. Now you're accountable to, like, telling other people about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a reason that Neo and Morpheus was trying to wake up everybody from the Matrix, because once they know the truth, they're now trying to wake up other people. But there's going to be people like Cypher that prefer to eat an invisible piece of steak because they enjoy their delusions. They enjoy their, you know what I'm saying? They enjoy the facade of what they think life is, and they don't want to get put onto the reality of what things really are. That's why people don't care about hearing about the Illuminati, government conspiracies, because they're too scared to realize that these things might be more true than they're willing to admit. So they avoid these conversations completely. You know what I'm saying? So, let me see if there's anything I could close on in this podcast, because I'm pretty much getting ready to wrap this one up. I hope I'm bringing value once again. If there's ever a specific topic you want me to cover, let me know. I'll be glad to try to cover those topics. I want to say this: communication is important. Learn how to communicate effectively. One of my next podcasts, I don't know which one, I want to talk about how some of you believe that things shouldn't be explained. It should just be understood. It should just be felt. That's the most prideful thing you could say, because while you think that you shouldn't have to express yourself, that your partner should just understand, every time that you think your partner should just understand, you're putting yourself in a position where they won't understand, and you're going to get mad at them for not having the mental capacity or the intellect to just read your mind. Yo, no one's a mind reader. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're feeling a certain way, say it, communicate it, learn how to communicate efficiently. You know what I'm saying? It's one of the most beautiful things to me when someone could explain exactly how they feel. And isn't it crazy that no one knows how to do that? You know what I'm saying? No one knows how to get into that, or they avoid getting into it because they think it causes too much friction, and they don't know how much friction they're creating by avoiding the conversation. There's somebody right now in your life that you want to tell them how full of shit they are, and you've been wanting to tell them that for 9 years now, but you're like, it's not worth it, you know? And now you have 9 years of how many times you repeated that in your own head internally, and on a 10th year, you might just blow up on them, and they're like, yo, where all this negative energy came from? And then you're going to tell them that, yo, well, I would have expressed this to you, but you made yourself out to be someone that I can't communicate with. And I get that, but it'd probably be better to have the conversation than to let it be pent up inside of you for 10 years plus, and then finally just burst out in a heat of anger and just say everything that you've been feeling for the last 10 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you think that certain things shouldn't be expressed. They should just understood. Annoying people should just know that they're annoying. Some annoying people have no idea that some annoying people have no idea that you're being triggered by them so much. They just don't know. You know what I'm saying? So, and life is really a blessing when nothing triggers you. You know what I'm saying? When you don't have hot buttons anymore, when there's no buttons that people could press, because you're not alive for yourself. You're alive to love as many people and bring as much value to this world as you can, and help as many people, because in helping people, you will get the things that you want to do. There's some rappers, there's some marketers, they just hop in your inbox and they're like, yo, you want to buy my song? It's like, yo, can I get to know you first? Like, you want me to buy your music? I don't know you, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, can you romance somebody? Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, yo, like marketers are very intrusive. You know what I mean? They don't realize that they gotta build a connection with customers before people don't just buy from anybody. You know, because there's a lot of scams going on. Like, so people just assume everything's a scam. That's why they don't buy from everybody. That's why they got to make sure you're legit first. So you got to build rapport with people, and you build rapport by loving them. That's the best way to build rapport. And being patient, being kind, loving people, loving people where they're at, not only for where they could be if they embrace their potential. Some of you only love people for what they could be, but you hate them for where they currently are. And because they chose a life of mediocrity, you take their life decisions personally. You know what I'm saying? As if they're living a life of mediocrity to spite you specifically, when it has a lot more to do with their mindset and their indoctrination than it has to do with them rebelling against you specifically. Yeah, I get that sometimes people do things specifically to spite other people. I know there's some daughters in this world who became porn stars just to piss off their father. Like, that shit happens. I get that. But in a lot of cases, people just, they are the way they are because they have a mindset that makes their actions permissible for whatever reason, you know what I'm saying? And they like to look to blame other things, circumstance, for them being the reason that they are the way they are, you know, and they're being molded by circumstances. They're being molded by the spirit of the true living God. You know what I mean? So God wants to mold you. God wants to etch you and sketch you. But if you let circumstances and people etch you and sketch you, then you're going to be a product of what happened to you instead of being a product of what God is and embracing his character and his character becoming your character. You know what I mean? Because when that happens, when your character intertwines with God's character, you know what I mean? When you're a reflection of who he is and who he is inside of you, that's when life is amazing. And that's when I think you'll get pretty much anything that you want. There's one guy from the Bible who got what he wanted. His name was Solomon. And what I'm impressed with is God asked him, what do you want? I'll give it to you. He said one thing. He said, I want wisdom. He said, that's all I want. And God was like, you know what? Because you asked for wisdom, I'm going to give you that. And I'm going to give you all these things. And King Solomon was one of the richest people on the planet. Why? Because he wanted wisdom. In the areas that you struggle in life, there's certain areas that you lack wisdom. And that's going to make life a struggle. If you struggle with your finances, you lack financial wisdom. If you struggle with your relationship, you lack relationship type wisdom. If you struggle with communication, you lack wisdom in that department. So, and all you're get more understanding. You know what I mean? Because my people perish for a lack of understanding. So that's the last thing I want to leave you with. I'm going to wrap it up because I have nothing more to say. And yeah, man, see you on the next one. Oh yeah, last thing. This is really the last thing. I want to talk about how people assume that people should just understand certain things. That's super prideful for you to think that people should be inside of your mind, just understanding you. If you don't express it, you know, I have this theory where I talk to people as if they're retarded. I hope nobody like gets offended when I use the word retarded. I know it's like not politically correct, but I talk to people as if they're retarded. Here's what I mean by saying that. Like, I talk to you as if you don't have the mental capacity of understanding me unless I give you every single minute detail. Like, I'm not trying to insult your intelligence, but I don't know what you know. And because I don't know what you know, I'm going to assume you know nothing. And not that I'm trying to undermine you and talk to you as if you're a child, but I'm really trying to get you to understand me. And the only way to do that is to pretend that you know nothing that I know. And just talk to you, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully you don't get insulted by that. You know, some people are going to get prideful. They're going to like, oh, you just trying to talk to me like I'm 5? Yeah, I get it, dude. Like, you're trying to over-explain now. And it's like, nah, I just don't want to assume that you know things that you might not know. Because when I assume, it's going to make an ass out of me and you as well, you know what I'm saying? And it's just going to lead to things that could have been avoided. So it's better to just explain it as if people don't have the, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll give you an example and then I'm out. This is the last thing. Here's where me and my brother argued a lot, because my brother always believed that I should just know certain things. Certain things shouldn't be explained. I want you to imagine, right? Give me a second. I want you to imagine for a second. Imagine if my brother is outside, right? He's fixing a car and he's super sweaty. Like he got his shirt off and stuff, sweating like crazy. He comes in the house. And he thinks that I should just know what he's asking me to pass him. He's like, yo, pass me that over there. And the direction of where he pointed, there's 1,000 that on the table. There's like a gallon of water, cold water. There's like mechanic gloves. There's like a toolbox. You know what I mean? So there's situations in life where I might pass my brother the toolbox because I figure, yo, he's working on cars. Maybe he needs a toolbox. You know what I mean? And then he might just spaz on me like, yo, like, don't you see that I'm sweating? Obviously, I wanted the water. Like, dude, how the hell am I supposed to know that you wanted water? Like, I'm supposed to just know that? Like, I see you working on a car. I thought maybe you needed more tools. You know what I'm saying? Or I might grab the gloves, right? or I might actually grab the water, right? And he was like, dude, like when I said that, I wasn't talking about the water, dude. Like I was talking about the gloves and a toolbox. Like, and it's like, dude, that's why don't use the word that when you're trying to point at an item. Explain what that is so that there's no confusion. You know what I'm saying? So in that scenario, just to give you, you know what I'm saying, just to really wrap up this message, if my brother would want me to make sure that I understand him, the best way of effective communication is say, yo, I want you to pass me those blue gloves on the table next to the bottle. It's right there. You know what I'm saying? And that way there's no anger on his part, thinking that I should just know it, what the hell he's talking about. And there's no confusion on my end as to what that item is. Because if there's a bottle of water, if he's fixing a car, he's sweating like hell. There's a bottle of water, there's gloves, there's tools, and they're all next to each other, and he's pointing in the same general location. That could be referring to any one of those items. And because of that, there's a chance that I might not understand him. So when you speak to people as if they're like kind of like slow, like not condescending, not in a patronizing way, but in a way where you need to be specific. Like, yo, pass me the coat. It's in the closet. It should be to the right side of the closet, downstairs closet. That's very specific. Neither of us could go wrong when you give specific directions, but there's too many people that are too prideful to go into the specifics because they believe that certain things should just be understood without being explained. And that's why they're always frustrated, because they're mad at people that don't understand what they think people should just understand. And it's like, bruh, you have to like explain, you know? So effective communication is what I want to leave you with. It's so important. Please learn how to communicate effectively. I think that's one of, you know, we're humans are created to communicate. If you have the if you have the inability to communicate, it's going to affect you everywhere in life. If you can't communicate, it's going to affect you as a marketer, as a salesman. It's going to affect your relationships. It's going to affect your relationships with your kids, your relationship with God. It affects everything. Your lack of communication skills. Please master that, if nothing else. If you're not talented in any other place, get talented in that. Get skillful in that area, communication. I don't want to hear that I'm not good at communicating. I didn't grow up being a good communicator. You didn't grow up knowing how to drive. You figured that out. You're capable of learning those new skills. So I don't want to hear whatever excuses people have why they can't learn a new skill. You know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't know English. Now you do. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could learn how to communicate better. So people are so invested in, you know, counting themselves out of the equation by making up excuses that prevent them from moving forward. It's like, yo, bro, like, do you want to do it? Because, you know, you can if you want to, or you can make up excuses as to why you can't. You know what I'm saying? Oh, old people be like, I didn't grow up with this technology. You know what I'm saying? And they use that as an excuse as to why they can't understand it. It's like, bro, do you want to understand technology? Because if you want to, you will. Or you can make an excuse that you didn't grow up with it because you didn't grow up driving either. And I see you're handling that pretty well. So you figured out how to drive. So anyways, that'll be the last thing I say, man. Love you guys tremendously. Hope I'm bringing value. And if there's ever a specific podcast you want me to cover, a topic, let me know. Send it to me. I'll be glad to do that topic as well. And take care, man. See you on the next one.